I need some help, Grandma.
Okay.
I need $600. 630.
For what?
I'm pregnant.
Who is he? A one-night stand?
No, ew. He's kind of my boyfriend.
Yeah. Why didn't you use a condom? Or for humanity's sake, get a vasectomy?
Oh, who is this?
It's my grandma.
You know, I cut my credit cards up into little pieces. I made a wind chime out of them.
Why would you do that? Why are you selling those books?
I need some cash. I need $500.
You must not have a lot of friends.
And now you need me, and I'm broke. You want a tattoo?
A little one.
Now that I can do.
Listen, Grandma, you better watch yourself.
Give us the money.
Get out of my home, you crazy old...
Oh my...
You know, I like your boyfriend. He's special. Really charismatic. You know, you need to be able to say screw you sometimes.
I say screw you.
Oh, you didn't say screw you to that little creep back there.
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. You're disturbing the customers.
I mean, what other customers are we disturbing? Oh, them, Ozzie and Harriet. And all coffee drips. You don't have to say drip coffee. That is a redundancy. Oh, look, it drips. Oh, my God, it drips.
I'm scared.
I've been scared of your mom since she was 5 years old.
I mean, any idiot could see that you need to be supervised, am I right?
Are you saying I'm any idiot?
What is this?
What is the feminine mystique?
Mystique's a character in X-Men.
What?
Guess I'm an idiot.
Yes, you are.
Screw you, Grandma.
Not bad.
What is your involvement?
I am her grandmother and I'm your mother.
Yes, but what are you doing here?
I'm gonna be there because this is my granddaughter. She's already pregnant.
Grandma.
Thank you so much for being here. It's an absolute honor to have you on this stage. I had the chance to watch this film last night, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I loved seeing you dominate every minute of a movie. It's eye candy. I couldn't stop watching it. You're unbelievable in this film. When he came to you and said to you, "I'm writing a movie for you," what did you think? Is that the story? Is that how it was brought to you?
Well, you said I'm writing it with you in mind.
I don't think.
Is that what you said? Anyway, it was daunting, you know, because you think, oh, God, I love Paul. I loved working with him on Admission. And what if this is like, I'm not up to it, you know? Or worse, you would think, what if I don't like it? But I loved it, so. I loved it because the character was just so outspoken and so, and trying to, you know, she was just a woman of years that had the experience to kind of look back on everything, and she was okay with it, and she was just going to go. And what was most important to her was that she might write again, and also to build a relationship, solidify a relationship with her granddaughter, and talk about, you know, impart her philosophy and teach her granddaughter to stand up for herself and to value herself and to value her as much as she valued her granddaughter. And she had the right scope on things.
Well, we have this, Paul, we have this story of 3 generations of women, and we have this sort of idea of how far we've come from the older generation, but at the same time a sort of metaphor for how we're sort of moving back in certain ways. The travel for an abortion kind of plays, I mean, where it was before is now a coffee shop, and they actually have to get on the road a little bit to get to it. And while it's not that far, in the country, we are seeing certain states more and more sort of grow into a situation where you have to travel very far for one.
Julia's character in the beginning of the movie has a big decision to make, and early on, Lily's character says to her, "Have you thought about this? Because it's something you're going to think about at some point every day for the rest of your life." The movie is very much about not only how much Lily's character knows, but how much has sort of been forgotten. There's a point in the movie where Lily is having a very intellectual insult fest with her girlfriend who she's broken up with, who's played by Judy Greer. She's calling her a solipsist and an ingenue, and she calls her a writer-in-residence and stuff. And then afterwards, Julia's character says, "You know, my friends just call each other bitch, hoe, and slut." And Lily's character says, "What kind of friends are these?" And, you know, I don't want to hear you use that word about yourself. So this idea that so much has been gained, but that this 18-year-old is completely unconscious of it, and not only needs to learn things from Lily, but that Lily, in sort of going on this quest to help her granddaughter out, and you saw her giving the comeuppance to the baby daddy, is
Nat
also growing at the same time.
Hitting
From Paper Towns, yeah.
yeah, hitting Nat Wolff from Paper Towns fame and the
Slightly
balls.
different role here, yeah.
Julia, how excited were you to work with Lily? Did you know a lot about Lily? Had you seen some work? I mean, for me, it's always been about Shortcuts and Nashville, or just like two of the greatest movies ever made, and her performances are unbelievable in them. Had you seen either of these or any of their work?
Yeah, I've been a big fan of Lily's even before I started acting. So when I got the script, I was thrilled to just work with Lily and Paul. I've been a big fan of Paul even before I was in the film industry. So just seeing it on paper, I was like, oh my God, Lily Tomlin for this part, she's perfect for this. And it was just, I thought, but I was so excited. And then when I went on the plane and I was gonna, start filming, I was just so nervous and excited, and I was just honored. It was really great. Thanks, Paul.
No, I mean, it really actually was a feat to hold your own, because Lily's character is like in the movie you have Lily and Marcia Gay Harden, who are both kind of sucking the air out of the room and really formidable people, and Sage is kind of learning to have her voice. But as an actress, you had yours from the get-go.
Sam, you have one of my favorite lines in the film, which is something about, as you grow old, you actually hold on to grudges even more, which is the opposite of what we all, I think, tell ourselves about growing old. Did you relate to that at all? How did you feel about this character?
God, I'd like to think that I don't hold on to grudges. But one of my favorite lines was about when Lily says, you're just a shit like you always were, basically. And I say, well, I find as I grow older, that old shit just keeps bubbling up. It bubbles up from the tar. And I really related to that. Because I think the real healthy people amongst us deal with shit in a really healthy manner, and they, deal with it and then get rid of it and move on. But I think there's some of the rest of us, and I think it was one of Carl's problems, that he couldn't deal with it, and he just kind of swept it under the rug, and it came back to visit him 14 years later.
Lily, did you develop this character at all with Paul? Are you improvising at all on set, or are you just sort of are you going by the script and it's written for you and you can do this the way it is?
Well, it just, the dialogue is so good, it just seemed to flow and roll on itself, and we had 19 days to do it, and we just jump in and start filming, and we had a great cinematographer. And when Julia says that something about it's a good role for me, I said, oh, we have to get this girl to be my granddaughter. I thought she was just so right. And Paul had brought her, and suggested her, and I thought she looked like an angel. She had white hair then. And she just finished her role and dyed her hair tomato red or some color.
I would never dye my hair this color, but yes, I dyed my hair I just finished 2 days ago.
You seem to feel slightly grandmotherly toward her now at this point. Is that because of the 19 days of shooting, or because it's been sort of immortalized on film?
Well, what, this one or me, what?
Grandmotherly to Julia. In real life, it seems to feel that way a little bit.
Yeah, I have a hard time discerning the words. I get most of what people are saying, but the mic, I don't know whether to hold the mic down here. Is it better down here?
Here, up here.
Is it better up here?
There you go.
I know, but it seems to resonate, like fold on itself. I had a hard time even understanding Sam. Didn't you a little bit? Anyway, whatever you said. I say yes.
So I'll just accept that check from you when we're done here. Is basically what you're saying.
Do you understand him?
Paul, what was a day on set for you like?
Well, actually, Lily and I did have kind of months to go over the script before we did it, and she gave me both a lot of fun ideas, and also if there was anything that seemed like hogwash, she would tell me that too. A day on set was like being the first audience to a bunch of really great performances. It was so exciting, and Lily was driving her own car. I would say the only scary day on set was she has this, is it a 50s Rambler?
Yeah, 55 Dodge.
Yeah,
Not a Dodge Rambler.
And
Certainly not.
all right, so I was looking for a car for the movie, and Lily said, "Well, I have one in the garage that I haven't driven for a long time." And the only scary day was when I tried to drive it. There's a couple of shots from behind where I'm wearing a bad wig, and I realized that Lily has very strong legs because you could press the brake on that car, but it wasn't going to stop. It was a joy, actually, honestly.
And Lily, you're wearing your own clothes, right? Yeah. So did you feel more close to this character than possibly any character you've played before?
Well, I think I felt closer to her than when that time I played Yogi Bear.
I assumed.
Yeah, I felt somewhat close to her because, I mean, she was my age, and I'd often tried to play much younger than I am. No, I'm kidding. I would have if I'd been given the opportunity. Yes, and she was a feminist and all that stuff, and I just, and she's a lesbian, and she just had a point of view that I would share in many respects. And if any of you have seen my YouTube video, you know I had her temper.
Wait, can we talk about that?
I think that's what gave Paul the idea for me to take this role.
You saw the I Heart Huckabees video, and you were like, "I'm going to cast her in this movie."
Well, it was really funny because when I first brought Lily the script, she said, "Well, I have two questions. Why is she so angry? I don't understand this character getting angry, and why does she have to swear so much? She's meant to be sort of a literary type." And in terms of the anger, I think we kind of went through the script and at every point looked at why she was angry. At some point, Sage says to her, "You have an anger problem," and she says, "No, I don't have an asshole problem." And when people are assholes to my granddaughter, I get angry. There's usually reasons why sensible people get upset. And then it was quite funny in terms of the swearing, because actually that's the one thing I stripped back in the script. And you asked about improv earlier. I will say on the set that Lily's improv swearing was much more colorful than what was in the script.
It's been a while since you've had a leading role, right? It's been a couple decades, I think, since you've had a leading role. What's it like for you to come back in a leading role that's so close to you?
I don't think I'm coming back. I just think I'm meandering along in life, and these opportunities rarely come to me, and then Paul brought me this idea, and that was just a blessing. I never have thought of myself as a movie star, even though I've done 25 movies or something like that, but that doesn't mean you're a movie star, even though I've had co-starring roles. And and as much as I'd like to think of myself as starring in this movie, I feel like the movie's the thing. And all the players in it are so darn good. From Sam, who's just stunning. That's not the best word. Stunning isn't the word that
I'll take stunning.
kind of swaggering. Something rich and colorful and sexy. And then she's everybody's good. If you see the movie, you'll see that everybody's just like gangbusters.
Absolutely. Sam, you're great in the movie. Julia, you're great in the movie as well. What was the vibe like with you and Lily when you started shooting? Did you have time to rehearse at all, or did you sort of get into it in the couple days? I imagine you were shooting for a couple days, right?
2 days.
Did you rehearse it all beforehand? Did you guys work out the script?
That's been a subject of discussion over the years. It doesn't seem to be something we can all agree on as to whether we've rehearsed or not. We might have read through it on the set. That, I think, was the extent of the rehearsal.
Yeah,
But it
I
just
don't
evolved,
remember.
The nice thing about it was that, in terms of the film, Lily and I didn't know each other before we worked on this. We had one encounter at an Emmy show a couple of years ago, and it was very fleeting, very brief. And the nice thing about that reality was the fact that here, when we came in terms of the story, we hadn't seen each other in 14 years. and it was kind of revisiting someone you knew from the past. Although it was, you know, we were obviously close in some ways, it was kind of starting over again, and we kind of felt our way into the scene, you know. But I felt very connected to, you know,
Absolutely.
the moment I came in. I mean, I just felt Lily was right there for me, and very giving and very warm, and the rest of it.
I feel like you're cast perfectly for this role because you have this voice that everybody knows and loves at this point, and it's a very warm, sensitive voice in many ways, but at the same time it also represents the cowboy for some and a certain amount of machismo. Well, I don't think you actually sort of portray that often. Your character ends up kind of unfolding that way. He holds on to a lot of macho resentment, but he's got this really sensitive Sam-like voice. Did you feel that going into this character, or did you know that that's what Paul was going for?
I think that this character certainly was a lot more sensitive than a lot of other characters I've been playing over the years, but that's just kind of luck of the draw, I think. You know, I mean, I just did an interview with somebody, and they said, "Oh, you know, you're known for being this macho guy, this Roadhouse, Tombstone guy," and I said, "Well, that's all that image. That's that shit that you are known for because of the roles you play. It's not necessarily who you are, you know."
You're going to lose your Ram contract.
Well, I hope not.
Paul, was
Say
that
it's a new, more sensitive Ram.
was that something you were thinking about when you cast Sam for that role?
I just knew how good Sam was, and I thought it would be. I just had an instinct that the chemistry would be there, which it really was in spades, and that I needed the characters to have this inbuilt affection because actually, their relationship goes back in the movie 50 years, and they were. Sam was in love with Lily's character at that point, and although his character has had 4 wives and has 11 not at the same time, over the years, and 11 grandkids, he still cherishes, he's still kind of in love with Lily's character. And I felt with Sam like he would both be able to play the part of this character where you don't know what he's thinking, but also it'd be really exciting to see him have a loop and go back to that point when they were 21 where they didn't have this huge confrontation with each other because Lily's character skipped out on him. I kind of felt that it would be really exciting, and it absolutely was.
I'm curious, when you sat down to write this script, did you start with the idea of a project for Lily, or did you sort of start more around the idea of wanting to sort of address or tell the story of 3 generations of women?
Really, I started with this. I'm interested in mentorship, and in this case, it's skipping in a generation. Marcia's character is the only person who both Lily and Julia's character are afraid of. They both don't want to deal with her because she's incredibly forceful. And in this case, it was this girl was showing up needing something from her grandmother, but what she got was not that. It was the ability to stand up for herself. And then it was really about hearing Lily's voice. It wasn't about anything tactical in any way or any intention, frankly. It just happened. And then it was just so lucky because everybody I asked to do it jumped in, largely because they were excited to work with Lily on this.
Lily, do you find were you surprised to hear that like because you signed on to this movie, everybody else was willing to jump on right away?
Oh, he's saying that because I came on, that's why everybody else came on. Well, I've never.
I can just see you going for it.
No, if that's true, that's a lovely idea. But I think I felt that it was a tribute to Paul. That people knew Paul as I didn't know. I'd met Marcia Gay, but I'd never known her, and I'd never known Sam, and I certainly didn't know this girl. She wasn't born when I was. So I attributed that to you. So you're attributing it to me?
Yeah.
Oh, gee. I wish I had.
Everybody know
worked for
from Laverne
Scale.
Cox to yeah.
And you have these great scenes with Judy Greer, with the wonderful Judy Greer, and both of you are such great comic actresses, but the scenes that you have together, you're very vicious with each other, and they're kind of funny, but you're not necessarily playing them for comedy. What was it like working with her?
Well, she was really fun. She was delightful. I mean, when we met, we did the first scene together, where we're breaking up, and she was just funny. She's so antic and eccentric, off camera, and she's always like doing deep bends and kicking her leg out, and just she's just funny. She's a funny, wonderful person.
You're both from Detroit.
And we're both from Detroit. Well, we should go back there and celebrate this movie.
Lily, you've had such an amazing career over the years, and it's still going. When you look back over the years, over the last 10 years, over the last 20 years, what do you think when you think about your career?
Well, I think I'm substantially well thought of. But
no, keep it. That's great.
That'll get you that and a dime will get you nothing.
Sam, I want to ask the same question to you. Like Lily, you have a storied career that is really incredible. Some amazing pieces of work in it, including Grandma. What do you think when you look back these days?
Good fortune. I think I've been very fortunate, to still be at it after 47 years,
Dye your hair the color of hers. Maybe the mustache.
Maybe the mustache.
Maybe
green.
Just the mustache, maybe.
Yeah, well, okay.
How often do you get the Big Lebowski thrown at you?
The last time was about 10 minutes ago.
I assume so, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about good fortune. It's just been wonderful. I've done a lot of shit probably over the years earlier on, but the nice thing is to still be at it and still have people like Paul come my way with really good material, and I think you get to learn, you get to grow, and hopefully the work gets better. So thanks for that.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Julia, do you get nervous when you're going into a movie with two people like this, when you're going to be doing scenes with them? How do you prepare?
Of course I get nervous, but that's a good sign always. If you're not nervous, that means that something's wrong. The other question was, how do I prepare?
Yeah, how do you get over the nervousness? How do you get over any intimidation that you might feel?
Just you meet them and they're just so nice, and it kind of just goes away, and then you just focus on the work and the material that is handed to you. You don't overthink about it. So.
Absolutely. I think we have some time for audience questions. Who's got the microphone? We've got some hands up here, but in the back right there.
Hi, Lily. This question is for you. There's been a lot of talk in the media lately about ageism in Hollywood, and you've been killing it lately. Frankie and Grace is hilarious. And now this movie, Grandma, to what extent have you faced ageism, and how do you kind of counteract that?
Well, I don't know that how I've counteracted everything, including keeping myself off the Match game back in the 70s, was I had an act. And I always had an act from the time I was 10 years old. I was putting on performances so I could go out and earn a living. Even when I was on Laugh-In, when we went on hiatus, I could tour with Dan and Dick or someone like that. But then after I got well known, I could book dates myself. But mostly it was because I had an act that I kept my hand in, and I did Broadway shows and stuff like that. I really can't counteract by myself the whole body of ageism in the industry. That would be profound. I would be sort of like Maggie Smith or someone like that, wouldn't I?
Do you?
And no, that's also, I've always made my own stuff to do so that I could get by and continue, and it was an important part of my career to create comedy and characters and to do that, and I became known for that, and I never, and then as you pass a certain age, you're not going to get a movie, or you're going to get a supporting role. You're not going to get a lead. I never got a lead role anyway. I was never a leading lady in that sense. In fact, I can tell you my career in a second. I was typing customer service tapes, or product at the Plaza Hotel in between jobs. I'd been on the Gary Moore Show for 3 performances, and they booted me off, and because I argued with everybody about the material. And so I thought, well, that's it. I'm going to go back to Detroit, because I'd seen too many people who were just wonderful anyway, like Barbara Harris and people like that. So, and a woman who was typing those tapes with me up at this office, she said, "Do you know who Mildred Natwick is?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Someday when Mildred's old or she goes, you're going to get her parts." And she was already a woman well into her, I would dare say, maybe pushing 60, wouldn't you? I mean, barefoot in the park. And I thought, and I said, well, I can't wait that long. That's just too long to wait for a part. So anyway, that's how I fought it. That's how I really fought the inability to get work. Was I had always started by creating stuff for myself to do, which I did even as a child, but I didn't know I was creating stuff for myself to do. I was just playing on the back porch, making up shows.
Are you still creating now?
Yeah, to some extent. Well, I'm always creating, lines and something to do, but I try to get my partner, Jane, to write a new show, like The Search, because that's what I enjoy doing immensely. So I hope she will heed my pleas.
Hopefully. Let's take another question from the audience right here.
Should I stand up?
If you'd like to.
My favorite movie roles of yours have been 9 to 5 and All of Me.
Yeah, I love All of Me too, and I love 9 to 5.
What have been your favorite movie roles of all time? And what was the most exciting part about being in 9 to 5, since it was such a feminist, groundbreaking story?
Well, I almost have to say I really have loved being in Grandma. I mean, how could you not? It was such an easy, fluid kind of movie to do, and it was about something, and we've gotten such great response to it. And so after that, I might say I love All of Me. I love doing All of Me, and I didn't even have that much screen time. I was only seen when he would look in the mirror, and he would see his reflection would be me. But I loved the movie. I thought the movie was lyrical and sweet and very funny, and was with Steve Martin. And I love 9 to 5 because I got to be friendly with Jane and Dolly. I love all the Altman movies because it's Altman, and you just so enjoy being a part of that family.
Can you talk about that for just a minute, just as an Altman buff, what it was like being part of the Altman family?
Well, you felt like you were sort of special on the inside in some way. When I got my first role in Nashville, that was meant to be... that was great. I mean, although I found out later Louise Fletcher was supposed to get that role. and Altman had a falling out with her and her husband, so over Thieves Like Us or something. Anyway, so I was grateful to get that part, although I thought I could have played 7 or 8 other parts that were in the movie and coveted the Barbara Harris part. But then I realized I shouldn't. As I watched the people coming in, I thought, I must be more Linnea than I realize. And so it was also just a wonderful time to do. And now I was 35, so that was my first movie role. 35, was I? Yeah, I was about 35. I remember by a dress I had. So, so I was starting late to get in the movies, wouldn't I be?
I'm not going to answer that.
And then all, shortcuts, even the player. I love being in the player because Altman's associate, Scotty, called me up. She said, we're over here at Raleigh Studios shooting stuff, and Bob wants you to come over tomorrow and shoot the dailies that the suits are looking at. And I said, okay, well, what's the scene? And she said, well, you and Scott Glenn will be, the actors, and you get in a big fight in the hotel room. And I said, what kind of hotel? It's an old beat-up, seedy hotel with a neon sign flashing outside. And I said, oh, so I'll need a robe. So I go looking in the costume room, and I get an old 40s robe, and I go over there, and we shoot the scene for, and we're hardly seen. We're just like on the screen, and we get in a big fight, and then I start setting fire to the curtains, so I have a light. You just think of something you can do,
Absolutely.
And I thought that would be good for me to be wafting a lighter up and down on the fringe of the curtains. Then I went home. Got no notice about being in the movie at all. That's being loyal to Altman.
Just showing up.
Showing up when you're needed. And I did his last movie, which was a privilege to do, Prairie Home Companion.
With Meryl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I think let's take a couple more questions from the audience. Because I could have done that with you for hours. Go ahead.
Hi, Lily. Michael, big fan. You studied pre-med before going into acting. Can I ask what made you change your path?
I kind of studied pre-med. I never would have been a doctor. I was just fantasizing being a doctor. I didn't think I would be in show business. Even though I put on shows from the time I was 6 or 7. Did any of you put on shows? Did you put on a show? Did you?
I always used to act. Even before, I didn't even know it was a profession. I would just act and imitate people all the time when I was a kid.
Well, me too. Same. I imitate my father and mother, and I imitate neighbors, and
everyone.
I was like but I thought I was the first performance artist because I would do magic tricks. I would cut a rope in two and restore it, and I would tap dance. So I'd wear my mother's slip like an evening dress. And I'd copy people I saw on television, and I'd try to cast other kids I lived in an apartment house, so there was a ready-made audience right there. And I would and try to get other kids to be in the show, and they wouldn't rehearse or show up. And I started doing it by myself. So then when I got in college, I thought I had to get a job, and I pretended I was going to be a doctor for about 6 months or so. A year or something, I don't know.
Did you put on shows, Sam?
I used to pretend I was Johnny Cash. My mom drugged me to a cherub choir at church when I was like 5 years old, so I started singing very young, and I had this love of Johnny Cash. I don't know why, but I can remember distinctly singing his songs along with him. So I didn't quite have this voice at that time.
But you must have had some remnants of it.
I had the beginnings of it, yeah, the germ.
Not remnants, the beginnings, that's right.
It's now come to be the remnants.
Last question right here in the front row.
Paul, you write for plays and movies. What would you say is the main difference between the two art forms?
Eventually, okay, well, here's the main difference. I think that in movies, I can't laugh when the actors are doing their scenes because I'll ruin it. You'd hear me laughing over their takes. Eventually, you become relegated to being an audience, and which is actually the most exciting thing as a director. Like in this case, seeing Julia and Lily, or seeing this amazing sequence with Sam and Lily, I got to be the first audience for this thing before anybody else would see it. And in a way, that's kind of the most fun thing. So, but I love movies because, because you get to see it in different places, and that's you should have one more question because that was not a very good, very good response.
You've also acted a little bit yourself, right?
I was in a movie called Chuck and Buck, which is a really weird movie.
It's a great movie. He was great. One more question? Do we want to have one more question? Anyone have one?
Oh, Sorry, you seen the film? Or?
I've seen the film.
Oh, yeah. Well, seeing the film was a thrill, and also we saw it for the first time in front of 1,200 people at Sundance, but then also in Salt Lake City. And it's quite weird because you never know how people are going to react to something, and while there's really dramatic things happening in the film, it was really exciting to me that, in a way, there were times when I was sitting there where it seemed like it was playing like an early film I'd done, like American Pie or About a Boy, in terms of the comedic aspect of it. And obviously it's due to Lily's impeccable timing. But everybody was in this zone where you couldn't extricate or separate the drama from the comedy. It was really exciting. So that's really cool.
And how can people see the film right now?
Okay, this Friday on the 21st, it's opening in New York and Los Angeles, and then in the next weekend, I think, adding a few cities like San Francisco and DC, and then it's widening out from there. So please do go see the film because the actors are brilliant in it. So.
You must go see the film. It's fantastic. Everybody in the film is really incredible. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for sitting down.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.